It is another day here in the bike shop, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to do a tune-up on your bike. And if you are new here, welcome. My name is Forrest. I'm a bike shop manager and mechanic, and we're going to be taking a look at this specialized mountain bike right behind me. So the first thing I'm going to do here is get the bike lifted up on the bike stand. And by all means, you don't need a big electric stand like this. I would recommend going to your local bike shop and picking up a bike stand. A lot of times they fold up. You can put them in your garage or put them in storage if you have that. A little bit of space in the corner of a room, they work great. And working on your bike, and especially doing a tune-up, is so much easier if you have a bike stand. And I'm going to assume if you're watching this video, you're pretty serious about bike maintenance and you want to learn how to do your own maintenance. So a lot of folks ask, what does a tune-up consist of? And in my opinion, that's going to be brake adjustment, shifting adjustment, wheel true. You're going to check every bolt on the bike front to back, and maybe also give it a nice cleanup while you run through it. And ideally, when the bike is fully done and ready to go, you'll have a fully functioning, perfectly operating bike. And nothing will be wearing out or making any funny noises, and you'll just have a really clean bike to ride. So if you're watching this video, maybe something's going on with your bike. Your shifting might be making some crunchy noises. Maybe you have disc brakes and you can hear those rubbing while you're riding. And in this video, I'm going to cover all the bases, or at least as much as I can for you guys, and show you how to fix all the most common problems and adjust everything properly. I've already done my preliminary checks on this bike, and I gave it a test ride here in the parking lot, which is also something I'd recommend doing. If you're not sure what's going on with your bike initially, or you're working on somebody else's bike, give it a test ride at first, and maybe not everything will work properly, and that's going to give you a better idea of where to focus your attention when you're actually doing the tune-up. I already went through this bike initially. I know a few things that we're going to have to change here, but the first step is we're going to pull the wheels off the bike. Okay, there's actually something quite important right here. Let me show you. What I'm going to recommend to you guys, if you have a bike with gears, and this goes for any kind of bike with gears, to pull the rear wheel off, it's going to make it a lot easier if you shift the bike into the highest chainring here and make sure that your derailleur's down. That's going to allow for when you pull the wheel off, pull the derailleur down and back in any scenario, and this whole wheel is just going to fall out a lot easier. In our case here on this side, it's going to be a 6mm Allen wrench in this side right here, and this bike has a through axle. Just one thick axle shaft that goes all the way through. Makes it very simple to take the axle out. You just turn the axle to the left, and once it unthreads, you can pull it all the way through and the wheel drops out. There is one other kind of axle you're going to run into more than likely. Let me show you what that is. Okay, now here's what I would do with this. So essentially what you have here is a cam nut, and what I mean by that is as this tightens down, it's actually sucking down on the axle shaft like that, therefore tightening. What we like to do when we're loosening this is go ahead and pop that side loose, give it 2 or 3 turns counterclockwise, and that should allow the wheel to fall out without having to take this entire piece off the wheel. Seems fairly simple. Putting it on is a little tricky because they do allow the wheel to rock back and forth, so you have to make sure that that wheel is nice and centered in the frame before you go ahead and lock this back down. And locking it down is the same. Pretty much we give it 2 or 3 turns, or at least until you can feel some tension on this. And I like to get it really tensioned about halfway, and then the bottom half, we like to give it some real force, and that allows that to really pinch down. So now that you're aware of the 2 axles you might run into, that's going to give you a pretty good idea of how to take the wheels off. The other #1 rule I will mention is when you have disc brakes like this and you pull the wheel off, you want to be 100% sure that you don't pull the brake levers up at the top, because the brake pads on this will center themselves, and if you pull the brake lever and the pads push in too far, you're going to have to spread the brake pads out again before you can put the wheels back on. Okay, now we're going to get a little bit technical. I'm going to share with you guys how to true a wheel. Let's go. Okay, so we got a quick little bonus side quest going on here. The customer actually also wants us to make these tires tubeless, and I figured why not? This is the perfect opportunity to share with you guys how to make some tires tubeless, because this bike is a specialized enduro and it deserves to be tubeless. Your first step to tubeless is making sure you have a tubeless ready tire and a rim. These are specialized carbon wheels, so we know that they're going to be tubeless compatible. This is also a Maxxis Assegai tire that says tubeless ready on the side. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pull the tire off and we're going to tape the wheel. So I'm going to take my tire lever. I'm going to go ahead and get underneath the tire here. And I believe this one actually has an inner tube in it. I think they were tubeless at one point, but he told me that the tape went bad. So we're actually gonna go in and replace the tape. Ah, look at that inner tube. It actually got a thorn in it, and when you pick up a thorn with an inner tube, it's not long before you get a flat. You can see, got the tire halfway off the wheel. I'm just gonna pull the tire straight off like that. We're actually gonna reuse these tires for our tubeless setup. I'm gonna do the same with the other wheel, and then we're gonna move over to the truing stand. Another pro tip thing to keep in your bike repair kit at home is this valve core remover tool. If you guys can see the part number on that guy, super handy, does Presta and Schrader valves. If you guys need to air down tires, takes 2 seconds with the valve core remover tool. And boom, just like that, all the air is out. Go ahead and break this old tire off the bead. A lot of times to get these tires off, the easiest way is to push on the tire sidewall all the way to the center of the wheel, all the way around on both sides. That'll give you more than enough meat to get under here with your tire lever. Just like this. And pull back all the way around. And you'll have some tough hands by the time you're done. And it's funny, he was actually running a DHR on the front. We're gonna have to remember, DHR goes on the front, but not usually. Usually that would be a rear tire, but in this case, it's the front. Okay, so the next step to our tune-up process here is going to be to true the wheel. And at this same point, we're gonna be able to go in here, and as you guys can see, I pulled the old rim tape off of this and it left all this gunk. Our new tubeless rim tape is a 3M tape. We're gonna have to clean that wheel super well. So we're gonna hit it with a little bit of speed clean degreaser, break out the blue rags, and then we're actually gonna go ahead once we get it that clean, and we're gonna hit it with isopropyl alcohol and get the rim absolutely spotless, and then we're gonna go back with our rim tape. And I have a few more tips on that as well. Okay, in all honesty, that took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but as you guys can see, I got the wheels pretty much dead clean. This one's got a couple little defects in it. I still have to get some of my rag material. Maybe I'll take the air and blow it out. But what I wanted to show you guys was how to true a wheel. Now, 99% of bikes, to true the rim on a bicycle, you can even do this on the bike if you don't have a big truing stand like this one in front of me. All you need to true your mountain bike wheels 99% of the time is going to be this spoke wrench. It's the red color from Park Tool. All the different sizes are categorized by color. They make green, they make blue. I would recommend doing research and seeing what size the spoke nipples are on your wheel. 99% of the time with modern mountain bikes, it's going to be the red one. And as you can see, we've got a little wobble in the wheel there. So basically the way this works, you need to determine which way the wheel's wobbling. If you're doing this on the bike, you're going to have to put something on the side of the frame to determine which way the wheel's walking. In the truing stand, it's a little bit easier because we have these jaws that just clamp around the wheel. So what I like to do is draw this in till you're right here where the jaw is just barely about to touch the side of the wheel. I rotate the wheel nice and slow, and as you can see, it's starting to walk pretty good right there, and we want the jaws here on the bottom of the rim. So we're getting a pretty good rub right there, so we've walked a little bit. So what the little walk right there on the wheel is going to allow us to do is to tighten the spokes, and we're actually going to tighten the spokes on the opposing side that the walk is, very minutely. And I like to take maybe 2 or 3 spokes. It'll be every other spoke. Maybe give each spoke a quarter of a turn to let that wheel walk over. I'm just telling you the bare minimum of what to do to true a wheel just for minor defects. If you have a wheel that's barely off, these techniques will help you get it straight every time. And we can also check the spoke tension. So as you can see, we're walking pretty good right here. I'm going to take my spoke wrench on this opposite spoke nipple, give that one a quarter turn, that one a quarter turn, that one a quarter. The same also goes for the same spokes on this side. You can therefore loosen these spokes, and that's going to let the wheel form fit a little bit looser that way. And sometimes it's a good idea to go around with a little penetrating oil if your wheel is really rusty. and hit each spoke nipple with the penetrating well. All right, now as you guys can see behind me, we've got this wheel pretty much dead nuts straight. It's time for the tape. Okay, for this job, I'm gonna use some 30mm Stan's tape. And actually, the pro tip here, we're gonna have to head to the break room for. Heck yeah, baby, put that tape right there in the microwave, and we're gonna let it go for 15 seconds. I find that putting the rim tape in the microwave like that just really helps it tack up, and it just allows this tape to stretch so much easier. Stand by, I'm gonna get to taping these wheels. Let's go. All right, the camera just fell off the stand, so I had to cut the time lapse off, but I wanted to show you guys how to tape a wheel. And the process is actually super simple. As you can see, I've got this one taped. Basically, I like to start right here near the valve stem hole and put my thumb down, and then the whole entire process is you stretch the tape down and you can go back with your thumb and push on the tape, and you're just trying to expel all the air from underneath the tape. And you'll find that certain tapes stick a lot better than others. The Stan's tape I like to microwave because it makes it stick a lot better to the wheels. I'll save you guys the hassle of having to watch me tape the second wheel because I got to get this work done before we close, but you're still going to see the rest of the tune-up. Here we go. All right, so now that we've got the wheels mounted, it's my personal favorite part, and that's going to be mounting the tires. I think I'm going to do this guy a favor and actually switch the tire orientation that he had. I checked with him and he is cool with it. That Asai Guy tire is going to do a little bit better on the front, and the DHR is going to do a little bit better in the rear. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, when you're setting a tubeless tire, you have to be ready to get a little bit dirty. We're going to put the Maxxis logo over where the valve stem is. We're going to go ahead and get that all centered up here. We're going to feed the tire halfway onto the wheel, making sure that the direction of rotation is the proper orientation, and we're just pushing that tire up to the center. If you push it to the center all the way around the whole rim, it's gonna snap right on easy. The disc brake's always gonna be on the left side of the bike when you're setting the orientation of your tires. Okay, now we're gonna add some of this tire sealant. This is Stan's No Tubes tire sealant. These are the small 2-ounce bottles. Therefore, we're gonna do 2 of these guys in each tire. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the moment of truth. We're gonna use this Presticycle inflator, and we're gonna seat these tubeless tire beads. So this is my favorite part of setting up tubeless. Sometimes you have to leave the valve cores removed, hit them with the air. That almost blew my eardrum out. We're gonna put that on there, and hopefully, with a little luck, you'll hear those tires snap right on. All right, here goes number 2. That's the noise we like to hear, folks. Give it a little shake for good measure. And I'm gonna call that good. On to the next thing. So with the standard tune-up, personally at this point, what I'm gonna do is go in here and I'm gonna check our brake pad material, front and rear on the bike, make sure that those are all good. If those are worn, I would go ahead and replace those so that the pistons don't start wearing into the brake rotors. The other thing I'm gonna do is I'll probably go front to back on the whole bike, and I'm gonna use my torque wrench and torque all these bolts around the stem. The Specialized Enduro, we know from experience, has a big problem on the bottom of the head tube right here actually cracking. If the swap tools aren't properly torqued together with the fork, it can actually cause that to crack. So we want to make sure we're avoiding that. Like I said, wheels are all set and ready to go back on the bike. We're going to check all these linkage bolts. If any of that has dirt and grime in it, we're going to clean that out and then give that a good torque. I already made sure that the cranks spin free without the chain, so bottom bracket is good. Suspension, we're going to take care of that at the very end. We're just going to check and make sure that that's all aired up properly. Right now I have the derailleur in its setup mode, therefore the wheel can easily come in and out. And then working all the way to the back, brake pads are still in good shape. So we're going to go ahead and leave the brake pads where they are at the end of the day. I would go ahead and use some frame cleaner. There's a bunch of different companies that make this stuff, but on hand I have some Maxima Bio Wash. I'm going to hit the whole frame with this. It's totally okay to get on suspension. I would avoid the brake pads if you could. Otherwise, they might creak in the future, but we're going to go ahead and hit all the linkage bolts, and then I'm going to go through with the torque wrench and torque everything down. Now, we got to get a clean microfiber rag. Let this cleaner sit for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then we'll wipe it all down. Okay, one step that so many people miss when they're putting together a bike like this, especially one with through axles, is they always forget to grease this last little piece of axle shaft where it threads into the fork. I can't tell you how many of these forks I've seen that I've had to hammer out these axles with an extractor because it wasn't greased, or whoever set it up didn't put grease on it. Get yourself a tub of this. You're not going to have any issues. Just the tiniest little bit on the end of the axle threads will do you so many wonders and save you so much time and money if you have to replace one of these. They're like 65 bucks now. They used to be way cheaper, but they're not. End of story. Just grease it, you'll be good to go. Okay, now once you've got that front wheel on, you're at this position. You have the wheel on the fork, but when you spin it, you can hear that brake rubbing, and what that is your brake pads down there are trying to self-center themselves, but they can't because the brake caliper is shifted one way or the other. So what you need to do is you need to come over here to this side, and this goes for any disc brake caliper. You're going to loosen these two bolts, top and bottom, just a little bit so this caliper can rock back and forth. Then we're going to spin the wheel, and we're going to hit the front brake, and we're going to hold the brake down while we go back in with the Allen wrench and tighten those two bolts. We're going to loosen these two bolts to the point that that caliper has some rock in it. Whatever position that caliper locks in, you're going to tighten it down from there, and then you can sight see. If you look down the top of it like that into the brake pads, you'll be able to hopefully see if it's still shifted one way or the other, and you can use your eyes and move that caliper one way or the other before torquing those two bolts down. Okay, so we pretty much got this thing ready to go. As you can hear, no squeak, and the brake locks up super good. If you guys have big trouble with it and you want to get really technical, you can get a rotor straightening tool like this guy from Park Tool. This guy can either do small bends. I'm not going to tweak it now because it's straight, but fit over it like that and do small bends side to side, or even big bends all the way over the top like that. And that allows you to really straighten that rotor if it has any side-to-side walk or any big walk in it that you can't get rid of by just centering the brake caliper. But now I think it's time to move on to the shifting. Alright, so you've made it to this point. You've got all the bolts torqued down on your mountain bike. You went through, torqued all the linkage bolts, everything else is working properly, but you get back to the shifting, and the shifting is still all out of whack. Let me show you how to fix it. So the very first step here is we're going to push this derailleur forward, just like that. And if you guys remember right, we stopped with the derailleur on the smallest ring. So if your chain's in any of these other rings, go ahead and bring it back to the small ring right now. Now I have a feeling that this derailleur, yep, it's going to be way out of whack. And as you can see, I even hear that rear brake rubbing, so we'll have to take care of that. But this does not want to drop the chain into the smallest ring. Therefore, we know this derailleur probably has an issue with either the limit screw not letting it come down into that smallest ring. The limit screw on the derailleur is what limits how far that derailleur can actually shift. Or our cable tension is too tight, and therefore the cable tension isn't allowing that chain loose enough of a cable to drop onto that highest gear, otherwise known as the smallest ring. So let's grab our Allen wrench here, and we'll take a look at the back of that derailleur. Now, I will say with bikes that have been ridden a lot, 99% of the time, you're actually going to have to tighten the cable, because we know cables stretch every time that you press that shifter, especially with new bikes. You're probably going to get 1 or 2 rides out of your new bike, and then you're going to have to go in and turn that barrel adjuster to get that cable a little bit tighter. All right, I just acquired a filmer. So we're almost done with this tune-up. I made sure that the cassette doesn't have any significant wear or anything in it like that. If the cassette has significant wear, you're probably going to have to take it into your bike shop regardless to get the cassette switched out, unless you have the tool. But if you're doing this at home, you want to make sure it's going to hit all the gears. So I've been going through with the cable tension. We're going to shift it into its hardest gear right here, and we're going to start going up. Now, if your derailleur doesn't want to go up to the easier gears, that means you don't have enough cable tension. So you're either going to turn the barrel adjuster that's on the derailleur counterclockwise, or you're going to turn the barrel adjuster on the shifter counterclockwise. And I would start with maybe half a turn or a full turn. If you're going more than 2 or 3 full turns and it's still not shifting, probably a good idea to come down here and make sure that your cable doesn't have any extra slack in it when you're in that hardest gear. But let's see how we're doing here. with our shifting. So this is wanting to jump up so far, so far, so far, and it wants to get to that top ring, but it just barely can't get there, and I think I know why. Now, being that it already shifted 11 gears and it's made it up that far, I think we just need to back off our limit screw on our derailleur, and every derailleur should have 2 limit screws, and if it doesn't, it's probably either electronic or something's broken. So you should find 2 limit screws and determine which ones they are. If we loosen that limit screw, it should allow this chain to travel up a little higher, and it still wants to shift just a little bit right on the edge. So we'll go just a little looser. Now you can see it wants to stay up there. Let's travel all the way down between the gears again. I can hear this drivetrain still a little bit crunchy, and that's just because the chain is super dry after all my cleaning. I didn't show you guys on camera, but I did go through with the drivetrain cleaner and blast out all the grease that was in the derailleur and on the cassette, and that's something that you would want to do at home as well. But this seems to be shifting good. Make sure I can hammer gears. A lot of times I'll go all the way down, make sure it doesn't shift off. I'll take all the gears on the way up. As long as it's still not shifting off, you know your gears are going to be properly adjusted. There's one more adjustment on the derailleur you can do, and that's the B tension if you're really having trouble with your shifting. Particularly on 12-speed drivetrains like this, it's not as important on things that are 7, 8 speeds, but they do actually make a B tension tool, and that's this guy. This could be worth keeping in your toolbox at home. Basically, you shift the chain into the second easiest gear, and then you use this tool right here over the big chain ring, and you guide this down, and the hole on the tool needs to align with the hole on the upper pulley of the derailleur. And as you can see, we're pretty much directly aligned right there, so that means the B tension was good to go, and it should already be preset. If you bought the bike, it'll be super close. So let's go ahead and add the chain lube, and right at the moment we're going to use the Finish Line dry lube, and you can just do each link very slowly all the way around. There's many different ways to lubricate a chain. I've been using this stuff a little while, and it seems to work fine. I also like to put a little lube on the derailleur pulleys. So just there and there. And as you can see, everything's spinning super free. Run through the gears one more time. Very quiet. I did want to say though, there's plenty of things in this video I wasn't able to touch on, such as rim brakes. I know that's a big topic. Not every bike has disc brakes. In fact, most of the bikes that we work on in the shop do have the rim brakes. This video, however, pertained more towards disc brakes on bikes. I plan on making a video in the future about how to adjust rim brakes properly as well. If that's something you guys want to see, maybe leave me a comment. Let me know if there's anything else that you guys would like to see bike maintenance wise, if there's anything you'd like me to dig deeper into. I know in this video we kind of brushed over everything so you guys can kind of get the idea of what a tune-up entails. But until next time, you guys, please give me a subscribe. It really helps out on the channel. Like this video if you enjoyed it. I have a playlist in the description of every video that I post where you can see so many more videos just like this one. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.